Congratulations! You've just entered the employ of the SCP Foundation as a junior researcher. As you know, the Foundation doesn't just hand out positions like this to anyone. To get scouted as part of their research corps, you need to be one of the best and brightest. You're going to be working with strange, mind-bending, and sometimes even deadly anomalies on a daily basis. You're part of the thin, redacted line between normalcy and absolute chaos of the supernatural. But right now, only one question is on your mind. Where will you actually be working? Because here's the thing. The SCP Foundation is a worldwide organization devoted to the containment of the anomalous, and they have thousands of classified sites and areas across the globe, each of them specializing in a different subset of the strange. Depending on your particular area of expertise, there's a number of Foundation facilities you may hope to be assigned to, but that's not what we're talking about today. Instead, we're focusing on the sites and areas so dangerous that just getting assigned there feels kind of like a demotion to D-Class, the places with the deadliest anomalies and the most frightening locales. That's right. It's time to cross your fingers and hope for the best. Because today we're going to discuss the most dangerous SCP Foundation sites and areas. But first, there are some things we need to understand about Foundation facilities in general. If you're somewhat familiar with the world of the SCP Foundation, you've probably heard phrases like research site and biological containment area thrown around a lot. You may have even picked up most of the meanings from context clues. But before we throw you into even more dangerous, uncharted waters, we're gonna break down the labels for you. The Foundation has secure facilities all over the world, and they deal with a wide range of different anomalies. So these facilities often have to specialize to suit the requirements of their specific task. For starters, the terms site and area aren't interchangeable. Sites are covert Foundation facilities that often exist relatively close to civilian populations, so as not to arouse suspicion from the public or rival groups like the Chaos Insurgency. They disguise themselves as boring government and corporate buildings. Areas, on the other hand, typically have to contain much more dangerous anomalies. Areas tend to not only be much larger than sites, they're also further away from civilian population centers. There's no cover story here. The areas are just entirely hidden. They also often have some pretty crazy failsafe measures in case of a large containment breach, like one or even multiple thermonuclear warheads designed to detonate and blow the facility to Kingdom Come, if things ever get truly out of control. It goes without saying that you'd probably rather be assigned to a site rather than an area, if you're risk-adverse. Both types of facilities are divided into sections or sectors, which in some cases are further divided into units. Units typically are small, high-security areas devoted to the extensive containment of a single anomaly, or several closely related anomalies. Now that you know the two types of facilities, let's talk prefixes, the handy little descriptor that often clues you in to how a Foundation site or area has specialized. There are 10 possible prefixes for a facility, and we'll take you on a quick crash course through those before we start getting dangerous. Armed, as in armed site, armed area, or armed section, refers to a facility or section that possesses a large quantity of firepower and could mean military-grade weaponry, vehicles, or just a large number of permanent armed guards. Armed facilities tend to be more dangerous to work in, either due to a greater threat of containment breach or due to a high possibility of attacks from the outside. Biological or bio implies that the facility or area deals with infectious or biohazardous anomalies that would make catching the Black Plague feel like a spa day. Containment is an obvious one. These sites or areas that are, you guessed it, built for containing anomalies. Dimensional containment facilities or sections often contain dangerous pocket dimensions, or gateways into other dimensions. Humanoid containment facilities or sections deal largely with intelligent human or human-like anomalies, capable of understanding and following instructions. They're similar to standard prisons, but for anomalous people. Protected facilities and sections are anomaly-free safe zones, so we won't be discussing them much here. Provisional facilities are typically temporary facilities built around an anomaly that couldn't be feasibly transported to a pre-existing facility. The rare reliquary facilities or sections are designed to hold anomalous artifacts of a religious or historical nature. Research facilities or sections either research the anomalies themselves or work on devising new containment methods. And storage facilities are designed to store non-anomalous items long-term. The Foundation also has observation outposts, but, with some rare exceptions, your greatest risk at one of these is dying of boredom. With that out of the way, let's get to what we've all been waiting for. The scariest, deadliest, and most overall dangerous facilities on the Foundation roster. The places you'd never want to be assigned to if your life depended on it. And in this case, it really does. First, we'll discuss the most dangerous sites, and then the most dangerous areas. So grab your Foundation-issued sidearm, and let's go. First, Site 19. It shouldn't be surprised that the largest operating Foundation site is also the one containing some of the most famous and deadly prisoners. Two in particular are the one you can't look away from, and another that puts you in lifelong mortal danger if you look at it. These are SCP-173 The Sculpture and SCP-689 The Statue of Death. If you get assigned to Site 19, there's a possibility you may suddenly find yourself with a snapped neck while filling in spreadsheets. And if you so much take a glance at SCP-689, you'll be declared an E-Class, and possibly even terminated by your superiors. Second, Provisional Site 4511, home of SCP-4511, also known as the Swine God. This giant pig-shaped furnace has had a terrifying effect on the Foundation personnel stationed at the site. In just a few weeks, it had seemingly rational researchers and guards performing brutal sacrifices in its name and descending into an occult hell. It's happened at least once already, and is extremely likely to happen again, so you definitely want to avoid being deployed here. But the most deadly site of all is one that doesn't even come from our universe. Site 13, also known as SCP-1730. This site, run by Director Elliot Emerson, functioned like an anomaly slaughterhouse in another dimension. Anomalies were murdered and burned, and dissenting Foundation employees were treated horrifically. But when Director Emerson happened to turn on the reality-warping Thresher machine, this site became a full-blown nightmare filled with escaped SCPs, mimetic hazards, otherworldly nightmare gods, and a truly unsavory entity nicknamed Leech Boy, who is quite interested in drinking your blood. If you can even survive long enough in Site 13 to meet him, that is. Of course, it's the secure Foundation areas where the horrors really unfold. These can make some of the worst sites look mild in comparison. Let's take a look at some of the Foundation's most dangerous areas. First, Containment Area 25B. This area is not only 200 meters beneath the ocean, it's also one of the most heavily fortified, and one of the few to actually detonate its on-site nuclear warhead in the past. That's because this is the containment area for SCP-076, also known as Able. This anomaly has frequent and extreme violent containment breach attempts, often brutally slaughtering staff in the process with his deft swordsmanship. Accepting a job here is a great way to fast-track yourself into becoming human sushi. Next up is Area 354. This facility houses SCP-354, also known as the Blood Pond, a slowly expanding pool of red liquid that habitually unleashes dangerous monsters that attack the guards stationed there. These include giant bats, huge metal spheres releasing concentrated radiation beams, a giant reptilian humanoid impervious to gunfire, and an invisible robotic Terminator entity that managed to murder 90% of the attending guards before being killed itself. In other words, not a recipe for stable employment. Area 126 is dangerous for a number of reasons. First, that it's located inside war-torn Damascus, Syria, and thus sometimes come under threat from shelling operations. Second, because it contains SCP-3989. This spatial anomaly in the middle of an olive orchard turned out to be a front for a terrifying sarkic dimension full of fleshy abominations. What's more, simply being in this area slowly caused the staff to lose their minds and become devoted to the sarkic deities hidden within the dimension. And much like the Blood Pond, it's believed that this area of influence is actively growing day by day. Meaning if you work at Area 126, it's actually getting less safe with each moment that passes. Next, Arm Reliquary and Containment Area 02. This space is specifically designed to contain highly dangerous, hostile, or otherwise hazardous anomalies, including multiple Keter-class objects. And we're not kidding when we say dangerous and hostile. The anomalies housed on this site are so dangerous, there's a literal battalion of armed guards to keep the peace. It also has not one, but multiple fail-safe nuclear weapons, designed to literally erase the entire base from existence if ever there's a catastrophic containment breach. One particularly horrifying anomaly in Area 02 is SCP-743. This is a seemingly innocent chocolate fountain that actually contains billions of extremely violent ant-like creatures that will swarm anything nearby, tearing it to pieces and dragging the pieces back to their nest inside the fountain. These insects will stop at nothing and can even tear through titanium if they need to in order to get their desired sustenance. So being present in this area means your life is constantly at risk. Hope you like chocolate. Next is the dreaded Armed Biological Containment Area 14, which contains some of the deadliest biological anomalies out there. From the bloodthirsty, kill-crazed Heart of Darkness SCP-058, to the head-devouring cannibal giant SCP-082, to the voice-imitating, memory-wiping Red Pack Hunters SCP-939. This base also houses several fast-breeding killer parasites, and a few highly infectious and deadly diseases. While Area 14 does boast an entire army of guards with heavy military hardware for preventing all these terrifying monsters from breaching containment and causing havoc, that probably won't make you feel much better. If even one of these things escapes at any given time, you better hope for your family's sake that you have a good life insurance policy. And finally, Area 37. As it stands, being sent to this area pretty much guarantees either death or a fate even worse than dying. That's because Area 37 is no longer under the control of the SCP Foundation. Instead, it's become a twisted playground for SCP-1765, a trio of terrifying reality warpers known as the Sisters. These unstoppable monsters claimed the area as their own, and began performing sickening experiments such as being forced into maddening time loops designed to drive you insane, or being crushed and burned to death in deadly games with confusing rules. While heading into other areas offers the possibility of a gruesome fate, Area 37 offers a dead certainty. Now, not only do you know the difference between different types of sites and areas, you now know some of the most horrifying and deadly examples of each, so you know which to avoid. But look on the bright side. If you're hard up for work and the SCP Foundation seems like an appealing job, at least you know there will likely always be a position available at one of these sites. After all, positions here open up very frequently. Now go check out SCP-4511 the Swine God and SCP-1765 Sisters for even more on the SCP Foundation's deadliest sites and areas.